After World War II, there were a lot of British sports cars that were rather cheaply made, but they were very fun to drive. However, the fact that they are cheaply made meant that reliability was a big issue. So by the 1970s, a lot of the manufacturers started going out of business, or they started gravitating towards non-sporty cars. But Japan saw this opportunity, well, Mazda in fact, and took this and made this one right here. Here we have this NA 1997 Mazda MX5, also called the Miata, or well, the Eunos Roadster. Today I'm going to show you around this car, and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. The Mazda MX5 is such a tiny car. I'm talking about like borderline K car category. And to prove that point, I am standing right in front of the Miata, and it's not that far away from me, but as you can see, I covered the entire car. That's how small and tiny this beast is. But as we move on closer to the car, it doesn't really get any bigger. The car is really a very tiny car. And I really love the design of it up front. So you get these pop-out headlights these are very iconic, especially for like the 80s and the 90s. This was a trademark for the cars back then. And you'll often see these cars with like one of it up and one of it down. That's because probably one is broken. I'm not sure if you can put some mods that make it go like one up, one down, but most of the time they are broken. Now again, here you have this old Mazda badge. It looks like a nose. So it's like you get two eyes back here. You get your nose, and you know those Japanese kawaii blushes you get on your anime girls. Then you have a really happy looking smile up front here, which tells you like, hey, I'm a really fun car to drive. From this side, you can really see just how small the Miata is. I think the only reason that this car didn't fit into the K car category is because it has an engine that is, well, greater than 660cc. So this one is like way overpowered for a K car. But anyway, as you can see, it's just so tiny in here. I'm only 5'6" or 168 centimeters, but look how much taller I am compared to the car. It's just, my arm is so far from the top of the car. Speaking of the top though, you get the soft top right here. This is removable. You can also change this to a hard top if you want to. Since we live in sketchy areas of Manila, you can easily just like flip this back and put up the hard top at the back. Now this door too, everything about it is small as well. Your side mirrors are incredibly small. Your door handles too, the max you can fit is like 2 fingers in there. But mostly you can just like put 1 finger, pull it. Yes, it's a very light door as well. It is also very low. I've crouched down like that, and I think I'm still kind of taller than the door itself. The mirrors, the glass is also frameless because it is a proper roadster sports car after all. If you look at the rims on this one, they're also really small. These are like what, 185/65 14s, but even though these are high profile 65 series tires, they don't exactly help with the ride comfort of the car. I do love the design though. It's a very 90s or 80s design to it, with all those rounded edges on the rims compared to newer cars with all those sharp and menacing edges. Under the hood of the Mazda Miata, you have this 1.6 liter B6ZE inline 4 engine, which produces 115 horsepower and 136 Newton meters of torque. Now this tiny engine right here is, I wouldn't call it the fast engine for this car, despite this car weighing only like 980 kilograms without any options, but it's more than enough, and it can accelerate from like 0 to 100 in around 8.6 seconds. One more thing to note about this, the entire car is made out of steel, right? But the hood is so light, it's made out of aluminum. I can raise it with 1 finger right here. Just look, I'm just using my thumb for this. Even here at the back of the MX5, or well, the Miata as you know it in North America, everything about it just screams I'm a tiny car. I mean, look at this lights assembly right here. It's smaller than my entire forearm, which is really a hard thing to do. I have really tiny arms. You get a really tiny tailpipe as well. And an afterthought of a third brake light. I don't know anyone who's gonna see that. Maybe only pedestrians, motorcycles, and other small sports cars that are this low as well. Now to open up this trunk, there's no button or anything, because the idea behind that is that if you have the soft top down, of course you don't want anyone just reaching into your cabin and opening it with trunk. So the only way to open it is with this key right here. So you enter the key, you just insert it like that and turn, and you reveal this really light and tiny trunk as well. And as you can see inside the trunk, I'm pleasantly surprised that they even put like a liner to it. I thought they were all about saving weight, but there is this really tiny spare tire right here. Look at how small that is. It's just incredibly tiny. I guess Mazda was thinking it's better to have just a little bit more trunk space than not to have a spare tire at all. And if you close this one back up, we can finally talk about the these two mounting brackets right here. Now, I believe these mounting brackets are for the hard top, for it to like mount onto it. Then you have this antenna that, despite it being in its fully extended position, it is still slightly shorter than me. That's how small and low this car is. This is the hard top that comes with the car. So as I showed earlier, there was a latch like bracket near the trunk, and that's where this latches down like that. And then for the top part near the sun visors, this is the latch just like that. Inside the Mazda Miata, first let's check the thud of the door. Sounds like an empty rattle can in there. And let's start the car up. Fires right up like that. Now, this Miata right here is probably one of the freshest in the country, or maybe even in the world. A lot of these Miatas were tracked, abused, modified, and all that, but this one is an almost all stock minus one thing, which I'll talk about later. And this Miata only has 12,316 kilometers on it. So this car is practically brand new for most standards. Now in here, okay, so up top you have this really smooth dashboard. I wouldn't say that it's made out of cheap plastic, but it is not soft touch either. It is very smooth. The center console too, this one is a bit on the cheaper side to it compared to the dashboard, but still overall, even though you know it's plastic, it's not terribly bad. In the middle you have this Razzo steering knob, which apparently was very famous in the 90s. This has a 5-speed manual, so it's just your regular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reverse just like that. Then your steering wheel too, it's nicely shaped. You get horns at the side, both sides, really nice. I think this is also a Momo steering wheel. That's what it says, but I'm not exactly sure if this is an actual Momo steering wheel. Your gauges, they're very straightforward, very 90s cars. Your switches too, it's just very basic, none of that electronic thing. So they're very chunky to move, and I love the sound of it. It's like a, it's very crispy and chunky at the same time. You like it. Your AC buttons are just very rudimentary, so they're just your typical knob thing. You don't have climate control of all of that. Only get like hot and cold, and that's pretty much it. Down here in the center, you have this weird thing that it's like a cubby, but I don't know what you can put in there. Probably like some coins, cigarette, your vape maybe. You get your switches for your windows. I expected them to be manual for a car like this, but hey, it's pretty cool, right? You also get this nice handbrake for your handbrake turns. It is a sports car after all. Then if you open this one up right here, you can also lock this, by the way. There is your trunk release lever in there, which is a very odd place to put in this car. Now, for some quirks of this car, I have no idea why Mazda decided to do this. Usually you'd have like a cigarette lighter somewhere in the middle, right? But Mazda decided to put it just above your knee, right here. I mean, it's not exactly a spot that you're gonna hit with your knee, but that's just a very weird place to put this one. I really don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, they put it like that. At the back, you have this I guess it's a place to put whatever items you have, like a small partial shelf. It is lined with like a really nice carpeting. It's also red. Now finally we go on over to the seats and the door cards. Now as you can see, this one has red door cards and red seats. Well, this isn't exactly stock, because originally this car came with like a cloth or velour type of black seats and door sidings, but the owner replaced everything to this like US version leather red, really nice seats to it, and the door sidings as well. And as you can see, it's all red like that. It's so nice, and it complements the top black part too. Now, you have this really nice button in this car, which is arguably the best party trick of this car. So you just press this button in the middle just below the hazard switch, and you close your eyes. Press it again, you open your eyes, and your Mazda Miata does it together with you. Up top, you have a really tiny sun visor, because after all, the windshield is also very raked and very small. This is me now removing the roof. I'll show you just how easy it is. So there's just one latch, you pull it, you go to the other side. Once you have those two unlatched, you just throw this over to the back, just like that, and you have an open top convertible. I think this car is more perfect for like people 6 feet and below, or even 5'10" and below. I'm only 5'6", so this car is definitely perfect for me. From my point of view right here though, as a driver, everything is just well laid out. So the shift knob is very close to me. The steering wheel too, it's very nice. The gauges are very easy to see. You also get your air vents that can easily twist and direct towards you. Your side mirror too, it's in the perfect spot. That's exactly how you want it to be. That way you can can still see a lot out of these mirrors right here. And then of course you can see your really nice pop-out headlights. So driving the 1997 Mazda MX5 Miata. Now today, despite it being a really hot day, it's not even just warm, it is incredibly hot and humid day. I've decided to put the roof down because of course that adds a lot to the driving experience of this car. So when you drive this car, the first thing you'll notice is just how not fast it is. So a lot of people think that when you go sports car, it's supposed to be fast, but the Mazda Miata is the proof that you don't really need that much speed to have fun, because despite this car only having like 116 horsepower, it is still rather kind of enough, and it'll still put a smile on your face just because of how light, nimble, agile it is. Like over these like twisty roads I'm about to enter right now, it just loves to turn corners. It's not all about grip. I don't think this car has a lot of grip. It definitely does not have a lot of grip. It tends to like I don't know, I wouldn't exactly call it oversteering in a way, nor understeering, but it's really good. It just puts a smile on your face. Now a lot of people have also said that this car is not about going fast, and that is true, but a lot of people say that perhaps if you put the top down, because you're also low to the ground and it's a bit louder, you're gonna feel how fast the car is. But no, it just isn't a fast car, nor is it a fast feeling car. There's just no sense of fast in this car, only fun. When it comes to handling, this car is also pretty amazing and easy to throw it around corners, up this hill, up this curved hill, just floor it like that. Oh, it's a very revvy car too. Let's go to second. Now the thing about driving this car is that don't for any second think that it's a fast car. It's not. I think this has been said so much times about the Miata. This car is not about going fast. This car is about being as light as it can be, a very lightweight car that you can easily push around corners, throw it around corners, just like this one right here. As you go around this, it's just so good. The handling is amazing. Now power, I wouldn't call it underpowered nor again fast, but it is definitely adequate. Again, you have to remember that this car only has like 980 kilograms on it without any options on it, so it's definitely a very light car. You want to, as much as possible, drive this car alone, because since it is only 980 kilograms, adding even just one average size male adult adds a lot and disrupts the power to weight ratio considerably in this car. Something very engaging about the gears on this car, there's a short shifter, it's so easy to shift. The clutch's biting point is a bit high, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. You do have to gas it up a little bit more than usual because it doesn't really have that much torque to keep the engine from stalling. It's just such an engaging driving experience revving it here like this. Ooh, that sounds so good. Imagine putting like a really nice exhaust on this car. It's just so nice to drive with the top down. This car is just so perfect to drive. Recently, I did the Mini Cooper review. I thought that car was fun to drive. That one had a manual as well, and that was the Cooper S, the supercharged version. But this one is on another level. This car is just a toy, but it's a practical toy for like U-turns and all that. It's just so easy to do. It's such a nimble car. It's just a small car. It's just a fun driving experience. There's nothing about this car that screams, I'm hard to drive. Remember, although it is a sports car, it's not like a super car in any way, so it's not hard to drive at all. These were the same roads I drove the GT3 RS a while back, and that car was pretty hard to drive in these situations. But this car, even if it's also like a sports car, I know they're in different leagues totally, but like this car is just so much easier to drive. It's so fun to drive. You know that this car is not, in Tagalog we call the term bastos. This car is not bastos at all. So it rewards you with a very fun driving experience, but without offending everyone. This car is not offensive. Even the onlooker on the outside wouldn't see you as like this snob who drives around in a sports car. Not at all. They'll just be seeing you as like, oh, some dude with a cool looking tiny sports car, not some like snob who thinks he's better than everyone else. Again, on these corners, I'm just pushing it second gear, third gear upshift like that. If you want to go over a corner and downshift, it's also so... Ooh! This car is just so fun to drive. This is hands down the most fun car I've driven. And I've driven a lot of cars now. Let's take this roundabout really fast like that. Ooh, this car is so nice. It's such a fun car to drive. I promise you. I know I've said it a lot of times, but I kid you not, this car is so fun to drive. Let's go up to third gear like that. Ooh, just feel the wind in your hair. Oh, fourth gear. Oh yes, this car is just so good. After all this, I haven't even looked at my speedometer. I'm doing only 40 and it feels a bit faster than that. This car is nice. Now, one reason the Mazda Miata became incredibly popular was because of the fact that unlike the British sports cars that it was supposedly inspired by, this car was incredibly well engineered in a way, and it's just so easy to maintain this car. The parts are taken out of like Mazda's warehouse of parts, and they just got whatever established cars with parts that are easy to find that they already have, and threw it into this thing, packed it into a compact form, put it in like, you know those things in like Back to the Future, they have like those dehydrated things and you just throw it into the hydrator. That's how it is with the Miata. It's like they took all of that, dehydrated it, and you get this compact, convenient, and also fun experience, but in a car. For a more sedate driving experience, if you do want to daily drive this car, if you drive this in the roads of like Manila or even downtown Manila, because of just how small it is, it's a very easy car to drive. You can easily park this car anywhere you want. You can easily maneuver this car over really tight streets. It's probably just like driving a Wigo in terms of how practical it is. I mean, size-wise, that is, of course, you only have 2 seats with this car, but it is definitely a very dailyable car. And besides, this car is quite cheap right now. So when you go over speed bumps and potholes, the Mazda Miata isn't the most uncomfortable, but of course, being a sports car, you can't expect it to be comfortable at all. It really does jolt you a lot, but the trade-off for that is you get really good handling with this car. This Miata, again, as mentioned earlier, is probably one of the freshest in the country, if not in the world. Even with the top down, I can just smell the interior. It smells brand new in here. The feel, the smell, all, even like the sound of it as you close the door, as you rev the car, it's like a sensational auditory, visual, and what do you call touch experience. It's like the whole entertainment thing for your senses. It's like sensory overload, but in a good way. You just get everything out of this car. It's as if it just walked out the showroom. That's how pristine this Miata that I'm driving is today. If you want one of these cars, you have to be very careful because a lot of these Miatas, there was a point in time where they became dirt cheap. Now today, you can easily find one for like 500,000-600,000 pesos, but you have to remember that these have already increased in value somewhat. Before that, maybe in the mid-2000s, these were really dirt cheap. Not exactly sure how much, but yes, I've heard they were really dirt cheap. So a lot of people will just buy these cars and pretty much just trash them and track them even. So you have to be very wary about that. If you want to find a good example such as this one, I don't think it's that easy to find. The owner of this car is the same owner as the Lexus LS I reviewed, which has like 2,300 kilometers. So I think he's one of the few people in the world who has a collection of cars this fresh, and it's incredibly hard to find an example such as his. If you live in North America, in the latter years, they even released this car with like a 1.8 liter with a little more power on it. But I mean, if you can find one, I guess go ahead. But I'm telling you, this 1.6 liter engine with all its 116 beautiful horsepower is enough. More than enough. Just look at the smile on my face. Have you ever seen me in a car review? Check out all my videos. If I've ever had a smile this big on my face, no, I don't think so. Even when I drove the GT3 RS, even when I drove the E55 and the C63 AMG, I've never had this big of a smile on my face. With that said, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more car reviews, don't forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to my channel to see more updates, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Aside from that, also I put all my links down in the description below. I have my Instagram there, I even made a TikTok recently. You can also support me on Patreon, and most importantly, check my Facebook page so you're going to see all the updates from me.